Everything you're about to hear is for entertainment purposes only. Listen, have some fun, but don't ever do, believe, or promote anything they say. They're idiots.
Guys, hold up. You should know, this ain't for everybody. Welcome to Savagely Loud. What's happening, people? Guys, welcome back to the show where we believe that facts divided by feelings equals failure. I'm Cliff, I'm your host, and I'm joined today and always by my furry little friend and co-host, Mikey Wold. How we doing today, Mikey?
Doing good, man. How about yourself? It is beautiful outside. I got my new Frisbee disc today, so I am ready for that. I'm ready for Sunday. And you know what? I hear that intro, and it's just like, yeah, we're idiots. Like,
yeah. It's fucking already off the rails before it starts. Well, I'm not quite as good as you because I don't have a whole load of new discs, but I am really good because we have a guest on the show, which is why we're going to forego all the upfrontities and the daily drag and stuff because we've got a guy waiting to be brought in. So without further ado, this man of men who joins us today is a retired police officer, entrepreneur, highly regarded media personality, speaker, and law enforcement consultant who has been featured on networks like Fox and podcasts like Real AF with Andy Frisella. He's a published author and an outspoken Christian. Most importantly, he is my friend, and he is the very man responsible for relighting my fire and bringing this show back to the air. Guys, it is my sincerest pleasure to welcome Dominick Izzo to Savagely Loud. Welcome, Dominick.
I'm going to grab your ass next time I hug you, man.
I hope so. How are we
we
doing today, man?
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Thanks. Gorgeous day out here in the area, and holy crap. Great day for a podcast discussion.
Hell yeah. Before we go any further, Dominick, tell everybody where they might be able to find you at.
Cop Talk Live is what we're pushing now. So anybody who's followed me for years knows that my three biggest passions are sales. I'm in the network marketing space, the dreaded pyramid scam. I love teaching that the right way. Getting all you dumb housewives who are fucking it up, actually doing it instead of the whole, I just believe in you and just talk to your friends, whatever. I do martial arts. I've been teaching on YouTube for 15 years. I got one of the biggest channels of martial arts channels on YouTube. But lately it's Cop Talk Live is what we're pushing, and it's law enforcement commentary. The good, the bad, the ugly, the truth, everything that goes out there. So Cop Talk Live, you can follow it on all the social medias, and Dominick Izzo on Instagram is probably my main one.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the Cop Talk Live, okay, so to set the example, like we're friends, like I've been on your show on Rants several times. We've had other interactions and all this stuff. I found you years and years and years ago because I was just scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden, like, this guy popped up who was not like the rest. He was fucking properly dressed, properly spoken, but still said fucking shit, and he wanted to hold people accountable. I was like, man, guy sounds like he sounds kind of like me. I'm gonna have to check him out. And I, you know what? You're a captivating individual, and then if you're a passionate individual by any means, you're gonna get addicted to your passion that you have for straightening out law enforcement, and whether that's straightening out the entire organization or straightening out the perception of the organization, that seems to be your whole passion. And that just bled through every single thing you talked about. And to further the intrigue there is I'm actually on the other side of things where you believe that cops are some of the best people on earth. I feel that they're some of the people that abuse their power the worst. Mm-hmm. Okay, so and that's why I think that this would be a great conversation, because it's not that I don't respect law enforcement. It's not that I don't respect the difficulty and the danger of the job. I have an extreme lack of respect for the people that I see doing it these days. It's not like back in Mayberry days, with Andy Griffith, where, it was like the cops were good to everybody. Everybody was good to them. It seems like we're kind of all at war with each other now. But then people like you pop out of the woodwork, and you're, like I said, you're not just pro-cop, cops can do no wrong. You're pro-cop on a whole different level. You're pro-cop on holding a standard and becoming the biggest benefit to human society as possible. Am I off on that?
No, you're dead right. I'm not pro-cop. I'm pro-law enforcement. I'm not pro-cop. I actually hate the word cop. I think it's professional police officer. And there's a caveat to me saying that I think that cops are cops is what I use in general, but it's there's a caveat to that where I think that cops, police are the greatest human beings on the planet when they uphold their oath.
Yes.
What you just said is right. I am vehemently against where Trump sat there when he was running, or maybe he did it afterwards too, when he won an election, and said, he wants to make it an automatic death penalty for anyone who kills a cop. And you get everybody, yeah. And I'm like, why? How is a police officer's life any better than the citizen they serve? See, here's the deal. And I get with this not in trouble all the time, because people come to my content and they'll consume one thing, and they'll get from that position that I'm either anti-cop, so I get the all cops are bastards crew comes in, like, yeah, this guy's telling it like it is, or I'll go the support cop, and they'll be like, oh, this guy's a bootlicker, and blah, blah, blah. And then when I do content that polarizes the other person, the other group's opinion, it's, oh, I can't believe you say X, Y, and Z. I am the most outspoken critic on the George Floyd case that there is. I condemned the police when it happened, and a year later after it happened, I still condemn the police. And it doesn't matter how much information I give, how much anything, where I'll say, well, I agree that Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd. He
Right.
didn't. But what Derek Chauvin did, where he knelt on a black man like he was a trophy he shot on an African Serengeti hunting trip for 9 minutes, that set cops back for 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, even in a Moore case where, like, I just did a breakdown the other day of where Candace Owens talked about, she was on Jillian Michaels' podcast. I was talking to Jillian Michaels, like, you didn't see you only saw the 9 minutes. You need to see the whole thing where they peaceably try to take this man into custody. And I went, did you watch the same fucking footage I did? Where they pulled up, they heard a store clerk say, hey, that guy tried to pass a fake 20. And without even doing any investigation, they pointed a gun right in his face. How's that peaceably? But the problem is the American public is so geared up on their, whatever they deem justice is, they don't give a fuck. Well, Floyd pointed a gun at a pregnant woman's stomach 13 years ago. Didn't matter in that instance. Well, Floyd, he swallowed fentanyl. Didn't matter. The public on either side is so pro-cop or anti-cop, they're so involved in their own passions that they just want the police to be judge, jury, and executioner, or a civil servant that doesn't do a fucking thing. So I'm not pro-cop. I'm pro-law enforcement, and I think that those who do it, who get up every single day and go, man, I want to bounce this guy's head off the squad car, but the oath I swore to the Constitution prohibits me from doing so, and no matter how bad I want to do it and I feel I want to do it, I'm not going to do it because that's not my job. Those are the greatest human beings among us.
Yeah. And to kind of reiterate kind of what you were saying, with George Floyd or the Moore case, like, two things can be equal. Like, it can start that way, and then, like, there's no reason to kneel on a guy's neck for 9 minutes. Like, there's just no reason for it. Put him in cuffs.
You'll get the crowd that comes out. They'll get the crowd that immediately comes out and interrupts you, just like I did, and say, but he didn't kneel on his neck. It doesn't fucking matter.
No. It's just extreme. It's not needed. Like, that's two things can both be right at the same time.
No, people don't want to believe that. They do not want to hear that. And I do, like, I've gone from systemic racism doesn't exist to, yeah, it does. It 100% does. And what it is it's whatever powers it be. I don't know who we want to say it. Is it the Democrats? Is it the left or whatever? They have allowed, fueled, justified, condoned black criminal behavior like crazy. And then the average citizen who now sees their feet, you don't see black excellence celebrated. You just don't see it. You see black thug criminal behavior pumped on your timeline all the time to where you're like, man, if my 17-year-old niece says she wants to go to Chicago, I'm like, you're out of your mind. You're not going. Right? You're not going around those people. And now you get people who are citizens who they pay their taxes, they obey the speed limit, all this. They're reflecting on a recidivism rate where no state's attorney prosecutes at all. So what they now are is man, blacks get away with everything. So when you get a George Floyd, who, maybe his knee wasn't on his neck for 9 minutes, but it looked so bad. Yeah. They're like, fuck him. He was a horrible human being. I'm glad he's gone. When ultimately speaking, what makes a cop a superior person is if they remember, oh, even this piece of shit deserves due process. It's not my job. And we have lost that.
That's that you said that, because I watched a video you did recently and you were talking about how no matter how bad the situation is, no matter how bad the perpetrator, the criminal, or the crook, or whatever it is, it's never a cop's job to deliver the punishment. You know what I mean? Like it's just never. It's always the cop's job to detain this person, get him to a place where they can then issue the the punishment. Now, that being said, just a couple of years ago, like there was a literal war on cops, and it seems to be still rolling a bit, but it was really bad. Like we were seeing people walk up to cop car cruisers and just start, blowing lead in the windows. Yeah. Now, let me get your opinion on why I think that happened, that whole war on cops, okay? And I'm going to actually, to my detriment, be part of this negative end of things. For the longest time, the law-abiding citizenry of America had seen the thug element, the criminal element of America, the black element, highlighted. Not that all blacks are criminals, but that element of that race, that community, was highlighted for so many years. So all of us law-abiding citizens, we got tired of it. Like, how the fuck are they not? They just get away with every single thing. How the fuck? So I think what happened was we fell into a mindset where if the cops were willing to beat this motherfucker in the street, he's got it coming per us. Let him go. 100%. And once we let that go too long, then the people on the other side of that war were like, "Oh fuck no! Now we're going to war with you." And then all of the regular citizenry was like, "Why is this happening?" Well, I think it's because we condoned the beatings, we condoned the shootings.
You wanted that mob behavior to happen, and the shot heard around the world was the half black first president that we had, Barack Obama.
Yes.
Never heard it. Never heard it in my life. He goes up to the podium, and without all the information, he makes an opinion statement, which is his right to, but it was irresponsible as president. The Cambridge police acted stupidly. I had never heard in the history of my life a sitting president comment on police issues prior to having all the information and categorize them as stupid. That was it. Hey, my black president, even though his mother was white, just gave us all permission to hate the police. Yep. And then if you heard the Dallas 5 that he went to their funeral and spoke, it was a campaign speech.
100%.
That's what you just said is 100% how systemic racism is in. You see all the blacks who are and it's horrible. It's not 13% of the population commits 53% of the crimes. It is from within 6%. Because it's mostly males, and that's a saturated number, which means that recidivism is out of control, and you're tired to see them get away with it. You're tired of blacks doing the knockout game. You're tired of knowing that their primary form of conflict resolution is punching people in the face and kicking them while they're down, and nothing's being done about it. We just had yesterday a 54-year-old black guy stabbed to death a 25-year-old white girl on the Green Line out here in Chicago. Okay, didn't make international news. It won't.
No,
so
never does.
We're all tired of it, but the cop's job is not to fucking punish. You want to punish? Be a citizen who gets up and actually does something. Until then, it's not the cop's job.
This is what I love. Hold on one second, Mikey. This is what I absolutely love about you, because you're a lot like me in the sense that you're able to draw lines of distinction. This is how I feel about things. This is how I feel about this person, but this person in this situation doesn't deserve what I actually would want him to have, and I truly respect that. Go ahead. What you were going to say, Mikey?
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Well, I mean, I do think I'm a piece of shit, right? It's like I'm not better than George Floyd was. I am a fucking piece of shit, and it's like I have lots of faults. And it's like anytime somebody's like, "How can you defend that?" And we saw this like right after the first Trump term, when all conservatives came out and acted holier than thou. And it's like you realize we're all scumbags, right? So it's not my job to pass judgment on anybody. I've never been on a jury. I was not a lawyer or a judge. I was a cop. It was not my job to pass judgment. Take facts, evidence, write the report, send them to court. That's it. So I don't pass judgment on anybody, and I don't know how we become such a fucking society who thinks that their own shit doesn't stink.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I have a lot of suspected attributes or theories, but here's the thing, like about what you just said. Again, I'm gonna have to compound on this respect thing because I know where you were a cop. I lived where you were a cop, and for somebody to be a cop in Round Lake Park, which is an absolute fucking hellhole.
Oh, but wait, no, I was just a small village cop who didn't do anything according to people.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is we should address, because I lived in Round Lake Park, and I lived there for several months, and like I would sit on my back porch on the weekends and just count gunfire.
We laughed our ass off. I found it too. In 2014, NBC5 put out a statement, like it was a news report. Round Lake Park was the #1 safest city or village to live in Illinois.
What?
That was all our response.
Yeah, right.
What the fuck numbers did you get?
They had to have done it by per capita or some skewed status.
Somebody was up for election and had a lobbying group fucking pay them off, because Round Lake Park is one of the most dangerous areas in northern Illinois. I mean, probably let alone of any suburb in America at this point. All of them.
It's like I get into arguments with people all the time who that's their main criticism is, oh, you were just a small village cop. And I'm like, okay, I got it. My uncle was a lieutenant at the firehouse where Cabrini Green was from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And when they tore it down, when I first got hired on Round Lake Beach. And he sits there, and we were at my cousin's wedding, and I was about a year on. I really hadn't talked to him that much. And he goes, I can't believe you're working up there. I'm like, what? He goes, that's where all use his words because he's an Italian from the city, all that. Well, that's where all the went to.
Yeah.
Because they moved and they relocated. And people don't get that you get Milwaukee and Chicago's criminal element that moves up to the suburbs. And we're not like Chicago, where you get a shots fired call where 100 rounds go off and then 50 cops show up and then stand around for hours. Right. No, suburb cops are the busiest people on the planet, and I can't stand the crap with that with people who criticize don't know what they're talking about.
Well, yeah, because you guys, suburb cops are dealing with everything. Like I know some cops in the city, or did know some cops in the city, and they pretty much just like, we only go to these calls. Those calls we kind of slough off. But suburban cops, like, some guy just beat the fuck out of his wife, and then you got to go figure out a robbery at a gas station, and then you got to go figure out why the guy's dog got out of the backyard. Then you got to, like, you have so many different things to do, and you have so many people to deal with. I think that's where we can really, where local law enforcement, like that suburban law enforcement really shines on a broad scale, is they're dealing with people, because they have so many different situations in there. They get all of this experience in dealing with people, where city cops, they just know you're the enemy, I'm your enemy to you, so we're just going to handle this real gruff style. You know what I mean?
And that you're not dealing with a massive force either. So it's, 5 of you on a shift, 5 to 10, whatever it is. But depending on what it is.
I need backup, call Dave.
But you're dealing with everything, and you yourself are dealing with everything because there's just no manpower behind you.
Oh, and you would get pissed. I'll never forget when I first got hired onto Round Lake Beach. We used to run 3 for minimums on midnights. Like 3 cars, and you was great because the Round Lake area is awesome. They're all on the same frequency.
It's small,
yeah. If you combine all of them,
you're big. Yeah, if you combine it all.
Yes, I was thinking Round Lake Beach, like that's
35,000 people. Maybe Round Lake's got about, and these are documented. We're not talking about them.
Right.
Maybe collectively you got about 80,000 people in the Round Lake area, and you got the Heights will back you up, the Park will back you up, Round Lake will back you up. But it blew me away how there was a guy that came on, and he was the early car. So if midnight shift started at 11, roll call started at 11. The early car would come on at 10:30 to cover the calls that both the afternoon shift didn't want to take, and then it was too early for midnights to come on. So he'd come on a half hour early, leave a half hour late, or come on a half hour early, leave a half hour early. And everybody would be, the 3 cars, 2 other cars would be pissed because you would hear at 11:01, right when shift change would begin, and he didn't have to be responsible for calls anymore because he knew we were all in the PD. You would hear him call out a traffic stop, and he was a DUI hunter, which, you would think that's fucking awesome. We want guys getting DUIs off the street. But all of a sudden, you get the other guys go, I got a fucking report from last night, or I got to do this. When you take another car off the road, Now you're responsible for answering calls or doing something else, taking somebody out of service. So these suburban towns, we ran 2 with the park, day shift and night shift too. That was it. It was a great night. The best shifts ever when I was at the beach on afternoons, we have 7. That was like, holy shit, we're going to do everything. So yeah, people don't get it, what it's like.
I would have seriously thought that 7 would have been the minimum in Round Lake, in the greater area. I mean, it's absolutely insanity over there. And especially to run 2 people, I don't know who organized that schedule or what if they knew. I mean, Cedar Villa, what is it? Cedar Villas Cedar Villas. That's where when Cabrini Breen or Robert Taylor home got torn down, they actually put an ad in the paper. Come here.
Cedar Villas and Meadow Green was right across the street, and both of those were the little projects for the area. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember seeing old on the internet old ads like, oh, now that your housing's all torn down, come over here and you can destroy this area. But
they did, and I'm so tired about people not talking or the truth about the culture. It's black culture, and of course, everyone, not all blacks. Shut the fuck up. If you have to start any rebuttal to any argument of, well, not all, you've lost. I don't want to hear what you have to say. The culture of young, urban, thug, criminal, fatherless black element that just cannot control their impulses has a massive battle ahead of them, and people want to see the police. They want to see them fucking punish them.
Yeah, and that becomes a very volatile situation because that has to do with a lot of my content. A lot of my content is race-based accountability. I hold black people accountable. I go into the religion with Islam and Israel, and I also hold the white people accountable too. But it seems like every time you throw something out like, hey, especially to the black community, like, guys, you're Americans and we want you here, but we need you to be a productive member of this. We need you to make us feel like we're a team. We need you to be safe in your neighborhoods. We need you to stop, abusing people. We need to erase this criminal element. Every time you say something like that or, just point out problems in their community, the very first thing I always hear is white people do shit too. That's not the right approach. I understand white people do shit too, but that's not the right approach. When somebody's coming to you about a problem that you have and you're tasked with rectifying, saying that somebody else has a problem too is nothing. It's always just escaping accountability.
That's America's theme. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say it's beyond. I mean, the accountability, but it's not being done in a household. It's not being done in their communities either. The communities aren't they're not helping investigations. No. If there's a murder or some shit, everyone just keeps quiet. And it's like, okay, so what the fuck do you expect? It's not going to stop if nobody says anything to do anything about it.
They're incentivized not to change. What you described too is it's everywhere. It's even in politics. Well, Trump X, Y, and Z. Well, Biden, blah, blah, blah. I can't stand it. The easiest way to shut somebody up on that is like you criticize me. Well, you did X, Y, and Z. And I go, yeah, so.
Exactly.
What's your point?
Exactly. I don't understand where we're going here.
It's like, I did a podcast about that 10 years ago. What the fuck's your point? It's pretty incredible how people will just divert accountability all over the place, which is what I wanted to. So if you were gonna get a position, let's say Dominick Izzo is gonna get whatever position, whether it's federal, whether it's local, whether it's in law enforcement or associated with law enforcement. Is there a position in this country, do you think, that you could, if you were tasked with, given that position, to adjust this acceptance of accountability, what position do you think is really tasked with that? What position out there do you think could really do the most benefit for getting in law enforcement, not only law enforcement, but the people, the populace, to kind of come together a little bit and accept accountability on both of our sides of this?
That was my platform when I ran for Cook County Sheriff in Chicago in 2018. It was police accountability, but putting the police first. And if anybody knows about Cook County, it's the second largest county in the nation, but it's a fucking joke. I don't know another, you name another city agency and their county police are taken less seriously than a municipal. You look at LA, you got LAPD, but LA County Sheriff, man, they run that shit out there. Not Chicago. It's a joke. So that was my platform, was people want police accountability. Well, then when I get elected and I'm in office, I'm putting every single one of their needs first. have any training they need, any education, any equipment they need. My standards for them will be so highly insane that if they don't meet them, discipline will wind up ensuing. This way, there's no excuse to where when something happens, well, no, I gave them everything they need. Now we're going to look at the root foundation of what the problem is, and we'll address it from there. But I don't work for you, meaning the citizen at the time. You may have voted me in, but you voted me in to change the complete dynamic of the police department or the sheriff's agency, giving them all what they need so that when because they're the ones that serve you. This is what people don't get. When chiefs are appointed, sheriffs are elected. Chiefs work to keep their fucking jobs so the mayor doesn't get rid of them. Chiefs need to give cops everything they need, equipment, training. I don't care what it is, but you need to hold those motherfuckers accountable. Unions are some of the worst, shittiest things on the planet. I was even union president. They did nothing for me, all this crap. Cops need to be so pressured to perform at the highest levels and standard that they're like, oh man, I don't want to fuck up today. Because they're the ones who serve the people. Same thing with the sheriff. I had said I want to go in, work for these men and women who work in the jails, the courts, the streets, so that they work for you. I'm not going to kiss your ass for the next 4 years doing these dumbass fucking videos like Sheriff Grady Judd. We just shot somebody 68 times. We ran out of bullets. Fucking, you celebrate that? He probably masturbated in his office because he loved it so much. I can't stand guys like that. I can't stand sheriffs who will put up the mug shots of somebody they just arrested. You can't get a fair trial with that shit. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's legal. Hey, we just stopped John Doe here and his black friends speeding through our town doing 90 miles an hour, shooting shit up. It's like, give them a trial, motherfucker. You just convicted them. So we have to go back to focusing on getting those street cops who actually do the job, putting all the pressure on them to raise their standards because they work for the public, and that's how you keep your job and you ensure your legacy.
So how I got a question. So how do you keep the morale up when I'm going to say the system is designed currently to go against law enforcement?
How old are you?
I am 42.
Okay, you were roughly the same age. I'm 50.
Yeah.
Did you play any sports when you were younger?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Soccer and baseball.
Okay, soccer and baseball, I'm going to assume the 80s, right?
No, 90s.
Okay. When you did sports, did you have male coaches?
Yeah.
Did you ever want to play hard for them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I wanted to play hard for the team and
you had as men, growing up as boys, we have this innate desire to impress and get the approval of the father figures that we work for or play for, right? It's why the military, which was my biggest regret in life, I never joined the military because I was too much of a pussy. The military will take 18-year-olds because if you tell them, hey, there's a cell of bad guy terrorists over there, run up that hill with this pack of C4, take them all fucking out. You might die in the process, but do it. They're going to go, fuck yeah. You do it to me, I'll go, get a fucking drone.
Yeah, right.
We have to have that same, there is no blue brotherhood. There's no camaraderie. There's nothing in the agency that celebrates excellence anymore. And if you are celebrated as a cop, you get shit on by your coworkers. So you're a kiss ass. You're all this. That has to fundamentally change. And we have to tap into. This is why I'm very anti-female on the street. We have to tap into the 10-year-old, 12-year-old me. That when my wrestling coach wanted me to do something, I could not fucking wait to make him happy.
Yeah.
And that went all the way up until I was 18. And then I would go to a job and I'm in my 20s working at a restaurant and my boss was, in his 30s and 40s. And I love it when he goes, good job today, man. Good job. That people don't get the power behind that approval seeking.
Oh yeah.
Well, because I'm extremely negative reinforcement. If you and I are going to go on a weight loss challenge and Cliff looks at us and goes, man, I believe in you guys. Holy shit, you're going to win. But if Cliff goes, you fat motherfucker, there's no way you're losing this power. You just suck. I'm going to be, fuck you, dude. And I advance forward. We have to tap into that again. That has been sacrificed out of men. Men operate phenomenal out of a hierarchy and a structure. You incentivize them the right way, you'll change the culture huge. I don't know. I'm not married. Sadly, I watched my mother browbeat my father for fucking decades. And it's like, oh, your father wants a pat in the back. I'm like, and later on in life, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with saying, hey, I appreciate you taking out the garbage?
Right.
Yeah.
Women do not get. We fucking thrive on that.
Yeah.
As a peer, you look at somebody who did an awesome job. This is why I'm very big on you discipline to progress. Meaning, most cops get disciplined and they're fucking shitting, walking on eggshells. They can't stand it. But if you go, dude, you fucked up on this call, but I want to address this and correct this because you're a fucking stud, and I want you to go out there next time and kill it. You're going to get men who go, holy shit, I feel a greater cause than myself here that I want to serve. That is the easiest and foundational way to change out morale in departments.
How do we implement that change? Okay, so when I look, I'm thinking about the training that it takes to become a law enforcement officer. And by the accounts that I've read, it's very minimal. Like, it's 6 weeks in training and you're good to go to fucking put somebody in a cage for the rest of their life. I understand why these officers, male and female, are losing integrity, losing status in society because they just don't know how to handle things anymore. Also, you know, when our fathers, let's say I'm 42 as well, when our fathers were cops, there was an inherent thing in humans that you just didn't do certain shit. You didn't act certain ways. You held yourself to a certain standard. And and it didn't take somebody making you do it. You just did it on your own. But now we're in a situation where it's required that you make people hold a standard. So how can we alter the training for police officers that not only gets them in a mindset of being, having the desire to impress their CO, impress their community with the good job that they're doing, but also be able to deal with the people so that we can try to quell these instances of officer involved shootings and things like that?
It starts at the top. You have to have people who fucking look the role, walk the role, are the role. I became a cop for a simple fucking reason. Everybody sat there and said, I was working in a 4 a.m. bar in Schaumburg. It was called Dakota's. And we used to have a ton of fights there, a ton of cops there. And I was making so good. I'm 22 years old, making $75,000 a year, working 5 hours a night. Why would I ever want to leave that?
Right.
You said you'd make a great cop. No, I don't want to make a great cop to snap. We had a brawl one night, and we had the same clowns, and sadly they call them brown clowns for Cook County. Their uniform is brown, and they don't take them seriously. We had the same guys. Some of them were scumbags. Some of them used to follow women home at the end of the night, DUI, to make sure that, hey, you got a favor, I guess I can pull you over for DUI, or you could X, Y, and Z. We had a couple guys who were great, this and that. A couple people who were on for 30 years would pull up to the bar to smoke in the back, and just their uniform looked like shit. We had a brawl one night. I don't know who this guy is. Never saw him again. I never got to know his name, anything. The bar separates because this man walks in. I swear to fuck he was 6'4". He may have been 5'9", 5'10". That's it. He walked in the most squared away uniform I had ever seen. Pristine polished fucking boots. I remember a thick black mustache, and he wore his cap. His fucking hat. The cops didn't wear their hats. Right. He wore it right in. The fucking Red Sea of crowd just parted. And I was like, oh my God. I didn't want that authority. It's not what I wanted. I wanted that fucking self-respect. Yeah. I wanted that respect. And now if I had worked for that fucking man, I would have emulated him. When I went to my department, we had a mix. We had a mix of guys who fucked around, mix of guys who joked around, mix of guys who did this. And then we had a mix of guys who, when Tim walked in the room, everybody wanted to be like Tim. When John walked in the room, everybody wanted to dress like John. Their uniforms would be perfectly. So you had that, but it was the mocking, right? If I walked in one day, which I did, so on my third year on midnights and wintertime, I started wearing a tie on duty. And I used to wear the thing was if you wore a tie, you didn't wear an outside vest carrier cover, right? I broke the rules, and I started wearing a tie under my vest carrier cover, just like this, and I would get mocked. Oh, you're wearing a tie. You're wearing a fucking tie. Faggot, wearing a tie. Next thing you know, a couple of the fucking sergeants are wearing ties. It's like, I wanted to take the job more seriously, but the more I took the job more seriously, the more I was kiss ass, this and that. But you need to have people who say, no, I want to know the Constitution inside and out. Right. I want to spend a disturbing amount of time at the range so all of my rounds are accounted for. I want to look the part. I want to be fucking fit and not fat. And when I get out of the car, I want to be unbelievably professional. You need those people to fight and go forward and move forward. And sadly, we need to get rid of like policies that don't allow ostracization or don't allow bullying. Mm-hmm. And you need to bully the fuck out of the weakest links there so they go, man, this job isn't for me. You need to shame the retired on duty guys who milk all the calls and say, we need to have a standard of excellence from these command staff who move up, and you look and you go, I don't care if you're in your 40s. You go, I want to be like this guy. I don't care. I'm 50. And there are still men today that I look at and I go, that guy makes me want to do better. Yeah, that's what we need in leadership.
Mm-hmm. So how would you address, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so how do you address the brotherhood that lets cops get away with everything? Like I've known cops that will get wasted at the bar and be like, I'm gonna drive home because I know I can. Like I'm never gonna get in trouble for it, so fuck it.
Cops are the worst offenders of DUIs on the planet.
Yeah, 100%.
Last DUI I wrote was a cop. 100%.
So how would you address that, like internally? Like, how would you address that with the department? Like, hey,
if I have the staff of power, it's instant. If you do DUI, instant termination, instant fucking termination. I believe that we need to start punishing cops 10 times harder. I went to an instructor development. No, and it was a use of force instructor class, 40-hour class. Awesome class, because I was going to start teaching tactics at the department. The first words out of this instructor's mouth, there's 40 of us in the class, it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. And he goes, show of hands, how many of you have ever said, shut the fuck up or you're going to jail? All of us, hands right up. It's the greatest threat in the world. And he goes, congratulations. If any of you have ever followed through on that, which I never did, you just violated somebody's First Amendment right. And if you were convicted, you would spend 2 years in mandatory in federal prison. We need to start doing that. Yeah. We need to start finding that if any cop willfully, knowingly violates someone's civil rights, they go to fucking jail, federal prison for 2 years. It needs to start happening. We don't do it. They're allowed to resign and go to another department.
Well, and it always comes down to, when I talk to cops, that I've known some dirty cops, I'm on that side of the equation here. But every time I've talked to dirty cops, they're like, well, you have to understand that we're still human. That's just a job. That's a profession, a career. We do that 8 to 10 hours a day, but then we're human outside of that. And I fundamentally disagree with that. If you're tasked with the reality of putting people in cages, tearing apart families and lives, you should be upholding everything that you are going to tag on somebody else 24 hours a day, 365 days a year,
100%.
Zero exceptions.
Isn't it convenient that they're cops 24 hours a day until they got to humanize the badge? That humanizing the badge movement, which was started by Mike the Cop and Officer Daniels. I've met Mike the Cop, great guy. I've never met Daniels, but Daniels was the only one when I went through my department, only one who reached out to me and said, hey, what do you need? You okay? And I never met the motherfucker. Those are the two guys who are responsible for humanizing the badge, that movement. Worst fucking movement on the planet. You aren't human, because humanizing means that I stop Cliff, I show up on scene or whatever, and Cliff he's choking the shit out of a fucking 5-year-old, and he's punching the 5-year-old, and then when I show up, Cliff immediately stops, puts his hands up in the air, goes out prone, face down, and that's it. I can't do anything unless Cliff starts to fuck up again, right? I have to put him in cuffs. Cliff 100% puts his hands behind his back, nothing. Humanizing the badge means I'm a human, and based on what I just saw, I can fuck Cliff up a little bit before or as I put him in handcuffs because I'm just human. We got to humanize the badge. No, that is the worst thing for law enforcement. Humanizing the badge means curb your fucking humanity. You show up on scene and some fucking 50-something-year-old just got done raping an 8-year-old and you want to put a bullet in his fucking face. You can't. You have to sit there and curb it as hard as you possibly can because our justice system is supposed to be the best on the planet. Send that motherfucker to court. And even if the courts don't do their job, you have to do yours.
Right.
To humanize the badges, remember, you get paid. I worked in a town very poor. I didn't get paid great as a cop. I got paid good. but it was 100 times better than most of the people in that fucking town. I could speed off duty wherever I want to. Could walk in any bar, no cover charge. I'm a cop. I could have drunk and drive. And I'm gonna tell you, the greatest thing in the world was being off duty and you have other people walk up and you go, I'm a cop. And it's like everything fucking changes. The perks you get, you can literally do anything as a police officer. So you're gonna bitch and whine and moan about fucking shit. You don't know what it's like. No, you made that choice.
Well, I think that's a lot like teachers. We see that exact behavior in teachers these days. These people grow up and they become teachers. Well, we've known the industry, the teaching industry, for 6 decades now, and it hasn't changed. And all of a sudden, these people they want to be teachers because maybe they want to start being a teacher because they want to change the world or the life of a child. But as soon as they get close to being a teacher, they start realizing how many perks there are to being a teacher, how many tax benefits, how many discounts at restaurants, the fact that you only work 179 days a year, but you get paid for 365. And they get all these perks, and then it's like, well, I have to go. Then they get the job, and then all of a sudden the job's not good enough. All of a sudden I'm a victim because I have to work. I had to spend 2 hours of my own time last night grading papers. Who gives a fuck? I had to spend $250,000 of my own money to do the job that I do that does not pay that back. So you're just trying to change an industry because you got into it. It was fine for everybody else, but now that I'm in it, it's got to change. You know what I mean?
And there's so many perks too. Like Dominic was saying, I can do whatever the fuck I want to, whether or not I'm on duty or not. My life is now a free for all.
You get in a bar fight with a cop, police show up. Who are they going to side with?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'll give you an example of that. My dad, I grew up, my dad, like I told you, he worked at 911 Lotus. He was a mechanic there for a while, so he knew a lot of cops. He knew a lot of other cops growing up. And there was this one cop that he was in a bar, and he was being a belligerent motherfucker. And I'm not going to name him because I know the people that know him, and but he was being a belligerent motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And dude's like, you need to calm this down. Even the bartender testified, said he tried to alleviate the situation over and over and over again, and he just wouldn't have it. Well, eventually the guy ended up fucking just sticking him once in the lung, just dead center in the chest, broke his sternum into his lung, and his lungs shattered because he had been smoking menthols for 35 years. And apparently what the menthol does is it crystallizes your lungs. It basically turns your lungs to ice. So when that cop got punched in the chest, he was dead before he hit the ground. And that guy still went to fucking jail for first-degree murder, despite everybody in that bar telling that cop was the asshole, and that was 100% self-defense. So there are major perks.
Yes, it's horrible. I can't stand it. It needs a change.
So how do we do that? How do we get it to change? Like, how do we get the people's want of power? Is that maybe a populist thing? Is that up to the people, the citizenry, to take away that power from cops? Like, if you're a cop and you, like, I work in Volo, so the Lake County Sheriff loves hanging out at gas stations in Volo. Mm-hmm. If I walk in and I see cops hanging out at the gas station, is it up to us to, should we? And I'm just asking, should we throw a sly remark like, it's good to see my tax dollars are hard at work eating that hot dog, shit like that.
First Amendment right.
Right, but is that what we should do? Like, should we, as the people, try to hold cops a little bit more accountable in nonviolent manners and just do that negative reinforcement, the ridicule thing? Like, if I don't fuck with you, I don't like you, so keep going,
I never had a problem with it.
And I think you're going to get a target on your back. But then, like, okay, great, I made a complaint. In the back of my mind, I know nothing's going to happen with it because the other cops aren't going to rat out their own guy.
It's bullshit. There's nothing special about you as a cop. Nothing. You literally, I keep telling people, it's like you can do anything. Drive as fast as you want. Drive wherever you drive backwards down a one-way street doing 110 miles an hour while you're blindfolded. Nobody fucking cares. And one of the biggest things that when we found our body cameras were recording us nonstop, and I had to go through all that footage of us. I watched one of our female cops, our only female cop at the time, was literally driving up a 20-mile-an-hour street, going to a call, lights and sirens, and you could see her, because it's the body camera view footage, of her driving with her knees going 45 miles an hour in a 20, texting on her phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's like, and I know I took shit for granted. I never violated anybody's civil rights, but I know I was like, I'm a cop. And I tell the story where things kind of changed for me was my deputy chief, who's now chief of Round Lake Park at the time, Dan Birch. We went to a call at the trailer park to go find somebody who had a warrant, and we found him. It was like for theft or something, whatever. And he's in the back of my squad car, and we're car to car. And Dan is up in the SUV, and I'm down in the Impala, and we're talking. And I love the guy. I did love the guy. I cared very much for him, but it just was something that really bothered me. Where the guy was in the back seat of the car, and he's yelling at Dan. So I roll down the window, and the guy's going, "You can't do this to me! Can't fucking do it!" And Dan just goes, takes his pen and taps right on his badge, and then drives away. And I went,
wow.
to me, that just, I went, fuck. Okay, we won. This guy, whatever his circumstances that he stole for somebody, that was his circumstance. I can't judge him because I wasn't in his shoes. I don't know if he was impaired or just a fucking stupid human being, but we won. Cuffs are on. He's going to county.
It's over.
Done. Why are we mocking these people? And that's one of the biggest problems I have is with cops is you're always going to win until the day the citizens rise up. Yeah. So to proverbially kick people when they're down, I don't care how good it feels, can't fucking do it at all. Can't.
Yeah.
So
I've been arrested and had, the cop that had got me, like, just talking shit about me to his buddies over the radio. And I'm just like, you asshole. Like, why?
Yeah, I've had cops talk shit about me while I'm standing there, and I wasn't even involved. We had an incident. I was supposedly involved. There was a fight at McDonald's in Grays Lake at 120 and 45 in the parking lot, and I happened to be outside, and this fight was raging. I didn't do anything, but because it was two little guys. Like, I knew the guys. If I hit either one of them, they were gonna fucking die. So I was just like, let them handle their shit like men. Figure it out, and we'll go have drinks, whatever. Cops got there, and they wanted to arrest me for not breaking it up. I was like, wait a minute, hold on, what the fuck do you mean? I every time I've ever been arrested, you guys have told me to stay out of things, and then I stay out of it, and you want to arrest me because I stayed out of it now. And then there was another instance in Lindenhurst. We were at a friend of mine's house, and the house across the street, a guy and his girlfriend, younger people, we're out by the car, doing that lovey-dovey, door open kind of thing. And all of a sudden, one of the guys in my buddy's yard, he stands up and he's like, let's go. And he fucking starts heading towards the street. I'm like, what the fuck happened? He's like, that dude just hit that bitch. We're going to go fucking kill him. So we all had it out there. There were like 15 of us. And I'm not the biggest one, but I'm not the smallest one either. So there's a whole lot of ass whoop heading that way. So we headed across the street. And they all poured out of the house. There was like 20 of them. And I started smiling because I was just going to start dropping motherfuckers. And the cops just so happened, because it's Lindenhurst in the Beck neighborhood, where the three Becks go all the way around. Well, they just so happened to be driving through, and there's 50 people about ready to brawl in the street. So they stopped. They calmed everything down. And then they came over and they congratulated us on our willingness to stand up for women and everything. Then they look at me. And he goes, you're going to have problems in your future. And I said, why is that? And he's like, because I should arrest you right now. I was like, wait a minute, why are you arresting? And I'm laughing. I'm thinking he's joking, right? I'm like, why would you arrest me right now? He's like, because you're the biggest dude here. So you being there caused everybody on that side of the street to freak out. And that's what caused this reaction, is you being there because you're so intimidating. First and foremost, how much truth is there to that? Like, is that real? Is that a fucking real thing? Like, I can be arrested just because I'm big and ugly?
Fuck, that's discrimination, isn't it?
I would think so, but...
well, they could claim disorderly conduct. You alarmed and disturbed someone. Oh.
Yeah, it seemed weird, like that. All of a sudden, the guys that were stopping this woman from getting beaten on are, we're kind of at risk for going to jail for doing your job for you. Like, but how do you? Okay, so given that parameter, how do we? Because there's so much corruption, like you just said. In fact, let's move to that, right? Because I want people to hear your story. You were a passionate, mindset cop. You loved your career. You wanted to do the best you could, and you got ousted. Basically, you got fucked over. And I think we should hear that story if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course. I got fired, and it took a long time to get reinstated, and then I retired. But I loved The town I worked for was the island of misfit toys, Round Lake Park. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had been done for law enforcement for a little bit. I get a call one day from a guy that I knew in passing. And he goes, "Hey, are you looking to get back into law enforcement?" And I go, "Well, yeah, what do you got?" He goes, "Well, we need a guy coming on here." So I'm like, "Holy shit, all right, great." And I went through the whole, applicant and testing and all this shit, and I got hired. And everybody told me, "Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there." I loved my command staff. It was an opportunity for me to be the cop that I wasn't the first time around. And I was just uber professional, just loving it. Great. It was just fucking awesome to do it, be part of it. Because now I was a man who was in his late 30s and going into 40s and not a 26-year-old kid anymore. It's like, now I want to take this seriously. I loved my chief, George Flanko. I fucking loved that man. He was my mentor. I kissed ass as much as possible. I was actively seeking his approval and praise, and I got it all the fucking time, which made me want to do more work, and I did. Well, one day we find out that our body cameras were recording us 24/7, and they were. We had this feature that was a proprietary feature called Record After the Fact by WatchGuard body cameras, where normal body cameras, they have a buffer, and they can be set to 60 seconds or 30 seconds to where 911 is called. You guys call 911. I show up, and the second I get out of the car, I hit my body camera to activate it. Well, based on the 30 or 60 second setting, it's going to store and have the previous video only, no audio of the previous 60 seconds. And then you'll hear beep, beep, and then you'll hear that's so you see that feature set all the time. Ours were recording us 7 minutes and 1 second and then storing it and then resetting. 7 minutes, 1 second, and restoring it. So if you undocked it, it started recording automatically. So you divide 12 hours, because those are our shifts, by 7 minutes and 1 second, and that's how many files you would have. Pissing, shitting, wiping your ass, sexting your girlfriend in your car, all of it. You saw all of it. I had enough at that time because I had also started to delve into the Melissa Kalyazinski case in our department, where I had found out that there's a woman sitting in prison, talked about it a million times, who's 100% innocent, but all you have to do is go to YouTube and you can see George Flanko bullying this girl for 9 hours to confessing to killing a toddler she didn't do. And Lake County is so fucking corrupt, it's ridiculous. We had just gone through the G.I. Joe Glenowitz scandal, where, oh my God, he killed himself, and no, did he really? It's ridiculous. So I was union president, and all of the guys wanted, 13 of us on the department, 12 wanted me to spearhead something. So we couldn't file a grievance. This is amazing. If I take my iPhone into Target and I start recording it up skirts, state's attorney's going to get involved. If the police department sets a setting for the cameras to record you nonstop and don't tell you, and you have a female in your department wiping her monthly period vagina, which is what we had, and it being caught on camera, nothing happens. I went to the state's attorney, nothing. Went county sheriff, nothing. I went to Illinois Attorney General, nothing. I went to the FBI office, Rolling Meadows, I called them, nothing. State police, nothing. That's criminal activity. We filed a lawsuit, and we filed a lawsuit in May, June, July, August, September, October, November 19th, I'm suspended. I'm suspended for disseminating department property without express permission, chief of police. I texted 2 photos of dead people, one in June and one I think was in maybe one in February, one in June, to a friend of mine. Friend and I had a falling out. The friend goes to the chief and says, "Look what Dominick sent me." And because I sent 2 text messages that contain dead bodies, resign or we're going to fire you. Fuck you. Fire me. I didn't do anything wrong. People who keep asking me, why would you do that? Because it's what a lot of us did. My former fucking FTO, who just resigned as chief, or just retired as chief in my first department, he's the one who taught me how to do it. Go get a disposable camera. This was back in the early 2000s. People aren't going to believe what he said. Flanko has an entirely separate phone of crime scene photos. People ask if I regret it. No. No, I would fucking do it again. We used to have websites, Gorish, consumptionjunctions.com. Look at this.
Rotten.com.
Rotten.com. What fucking emails we used to send each other. So no, I am not apologetic for doing that at all. I did nothing wrong. It took 3 years because I knew I did nothing wrong. Every guy in the department who wanted me to file that lawsuit. 12 of them, 3 of us were left at the end. Most of them got bullied out. Most of them said, well, I'm trying to transfer to another department. I got to drop out of this. There was nothing stopping Filenko from taking every guy aside into his office and having those private conversations. And he did what he did. They dropped out. It was ironic that I said, I'm covered under the fucking Federal Whistleblowers Act, for the love of God. Fire me, please. Took 3 years, and I got fully reinstated on October 7th, 2019. And then I retired October 8th, 2019, because I'm like, I'm not going to, I knew not to go back. Another one of our guys was stupid. He did go back. He went back, and a year later, he was arrested for child abuse. And then it was proven a year after that there was no abuse of the child.
Oh, yeah, they had it.
Fabricate. So yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous for but there's no, you're talking about brotherhood earlier. There's no brotherhood. Every cop, I have videos somewhere of it, but the day I was relieved of duty and suspended, no, I think it was November 19th or November 20, maybe 21st, something like that. That day, I had just written a letter requesting Filenko, the chief, to resign. Voted no confidence. And as the union president, like 10 officers asked me to do it. Nobody would sign it.
Right.
So I signed it, slipped it under the door. 5-6 hours later, you're suspended, right? Here's your department acquisition. You're suspended, blah, blah. I found out later, I had one of the guys call me. He goes, listen, I didn't do it. It's not on me. I wasn't there. But the one female who I tried to protect, because I said, I got video of you wiping your fucking bloody snatch on video. I got video of you popping your zits in the mirror, eating it. They did this, and it's out there. She didn't care, because allegedly she was jocking the deputy chief, and she thought she was going to get a whole career out of this. And she didn't want to be involved. She wrote a letter of confidence in the chief. No. Everyone but 2 motherfuckers signed it. So I don't talk to anybody from my old department. There is no blue brotherhood at all. In my opinion, they're all fucking cowards. They all wanted shit done. They all bitched about it, but they did. But I'm the one who took the fall, and I do it again. But fuck them. I have nothing positive to say about them.
Yeah, that goes back to an early episode we have. Everyone wants to lead, but nobody wants to be the leader.
Everybody wants to be in front, but nobody wants to be. Nobody wants to lead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of incredible that that people in the general population can just look at anybody nowadays. People, cops, regular, whatever, and say that there's any sort of dedication to fellow man, because it's just not there. Like, cops are for cops when it's against you, but other than that, they're looking out for number one. Yep, there's only 2 times cops ever get together in solidarity: police use of force incidents or funerals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's it. Otherwise, I saw when Glenowitz fucking had his parade through Fox Lake, people couldn't get to fucking work all day. There was just every road in Fox Lake was blocked, and they were parading around this fucking piece of shit criminal, corrupt. I've always said I think it's far more to it, and I did a massive hour breakdown on it. I don't think it never made sense to me that man killed himself for $3,000, and I heard a lot more differently. And if that was the case, if it was that much shit, you'd want to go, we're going to sweep this under the rug and deal with it internally. Mm-hmm. I think they vilified him, ironically enough, my chief. I think they vilified him to being the devil of law enforcement to take the spotlight off of themselves. I think there are far more high up, corrupt brass in both the fire department and the police department in Lake County, and this was their chance. We need to fucking make this motherfucker the devil, because they're going to be looking into us otherwise. Well, my ex-wife, her uncle was police chief at Antioch for quite a bit, Jim Forrester, and I've heard stories. Like, we'll leave it there, but I've heard stories. So what you just said is probably not all that far from the truth. Everybody focuses on Chicago. Yeah. When you're so far away, Round Lake where? Round Lake where? I'm not trying to make this a vilification of him, but because I've shit on him enough throughout his career. My former chief was a dispatcher. There's a 1997 Daily Herald article that features him in his mid-40s, where he finally gets hired on part-time to Haynesville, and there's an article featured on him. And his training consisted of, here's a badge, here's a map, here's a gun. If you get in any trouble, call one of the guys that you know who's a cop. That man, George Filenko, was
appointed eventually to the head of Lake County Major Crimes Task Force, the number one entity that investigates how does that make any sense to you? That's called
background deals.
That's called I have leverage on you.
Yep.
Give me fucking what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's so much corruption. I mean, if Cook County is as corrupt as it is, which it is, and Illinois is corrupt as it is, I mean, it only makes sense that, Lake County and all our little police forces are hella corrupt too.
Lake County, the stats I saw was that Lake County is the number one county in the United States that has false confessions.
Wow.
That's insanity.
Who was it? Ron Rivera? Was that him? The one who just got released like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, 20 million payout for spending like 20 years in prison, who he was convicted of killing a woman. But the evidence that exonerated him was that they claimed something about blood being found on his shoes, his gym shoes, Nikes. But the shoes that they submitted to evidence to prove it were not released at the time the crime was being committed.
Wow. I mean, I hear all that shit on like forensic files and Datelines and stuff like that. It's nuts how much false confessions and false evidence there is. Hey, this exonerates this guy, so we're just gonna tuck this away in the back corner of the evidence room, and that's
you could have it. We have it right now. We have two cases in Illinois that are both involved with George Folenko, Melissa Kalyazinski and Marnie Yang. Marnie Yang is sitting in prison. So is Melissa Kalyazinski. They're both serving a 31-year prison sentence. Melissa was convicted of killing a toddler. Medical evidence has been proven over and over and over again she didn't do it. It is alleged that Lake County purposefully fucked up the x-rays and gave them with discovery to the defense so that the defense was not able to formulate properly a defense. All this is out there. It's all proven. Mm-hmm. Marnie Yang, who was convicted of killing Ronnie Reuter, the 9-month pregnant side piece of 85 Chicago Bear Super Bowl Sean Gale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So Marnie Yang sitting in prison for that. There's 700 pages of evidence. She's being represented by Jed Stone, a fucking incredible defense attorney in Lake County, that proves she didn't do it. You could take, literally, this is how the court system works. You could be sitting in prison for the last 10 years on committing a murder. I could come up to the police department and go, Mike didn't do it. I did. Here's the gun. Here's the video of me doing it. The ballistics are going to match it. All this shit, I did it. And I'm going to give you a full signed confession. They don't care.
Nope.
Well, we got to take this up to the Supreme Court. We got to do it. They don't fucking care because they don't want to pay shit out. They paid Juan Rivera $20 million. They're going to be another $60 million in the hole when those two women get out.
What is the purpose of it? Like, why do law enforcement agencies seem so dedicated to locking up people, even regardless of the fact that they find out this person's innocent? Why are they so dedicated to keep them locked up once? Because
Cliff, if we find out if Cliff starts making cigars, I'm like, fuck yeah, man. And Cliff starts making an awesome brand and they go out all over the place. And then Cliff's got he's got 5 people that he can't stand. He sends me a batch of cigars, got arsenic in it, and I die. And then somebody else this and that stuff. And it's discovered Cliff did it. Well, we got to go and look at everybody else at Cliff sold too, right? Same thing. It's like, well, when you find out, oh shit, man, you mean George put 2 innocent women in prison and he lied to the whole world about the Glenowitz case for 2 months? We need to investigate everybody else he ever fucking arrested.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah. And is it also, I think this guy did it, so I'm right. I'm not going to be proven wrong on it.
There is a massive amount. I always believe that, it's hard. It really is. Confessions, it's easy to get a confession out of somebody when you kind of manipulate promises that you can't make.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that happened in Melissa Kalyazinski's case, right? She thought that she was just going to go home and be with her puppy. So all of it's on video, and I talk about it all the time because it nauseates the shit out of me what we cops did to her. It's pride. I just know that guy did it. I just know he did it. Do you have the evidence? Sometimes the bad guy fucking wins. Marnie Yang was investigated for over a year. They couldn't find any evidence at all. It's alleged that Folenko told Marnie Yang that her son at the time, I think he was a juvenile, that if she didn't cop to the crime, that he was going to make sure he pinned it on him, and he was going to get ass fucked in Depke as a juvenile there for the rest of his days until he left. Well, conveniently, not too much longer after that, apparently, Marnie Yang meets up with her girlfriend, at a bar, and the girlfriend is wearing a wire, and Marnie knew it. And Marnie confessed to the crime on the wire, knowing what would happen, because she was just badgered and beaten fucking down. There is no evidence that ties the crime to her. So it's like, it's a pride issue. And it takes a special kind of person. Like I said, I will shit on him every opportunity I have because he's an evil fucking man. But take a man who was a dispatcher, who always wanted that power, and then give him the fucking ultimate power. Dude, that's why I said I was his fucking favorite. I kissed his ass. My God, I spent so much fucking time with that man. All of a sudden he shits on me. Resign, I'm going to fire you. Oh, because I got to you, motherfucker. Mm-hmm. I get it. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's my problem with law enforcement right there. That's where I sit as a baseline. In the foundation of my perspective of cops is, first and foremost, when I was a kid, like I grew up around cops, so I always had this thing in me where it's like cops are good people that want to help. As I grew older, I started learning that wasn't necessarily all the way the truth. It wasn't necessarily a full lie, but it wasn't all the way the truth. I've always felt like cops become cops because they're picked on in school and they want retribution. And because I've known a lot of cops like that. They get picked on in grade school and high school, and the only way these fucking spineless cowards can get any sort of retribution is to become a law enforcement agent. And now, because it's 6 weeks and you're good to go.
Worse than that. My sister cuts hair. 11 months, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday to get her license. It has to be renewed every 2 years. Me, went to the academy, 3 months. Certified. When I left, the department hired, and I'll send you a photo of the three of them later on. The department hired 3 children. And when you look at them, you're going to be like, oh my God. I got calls from people, who were after going, dude, this, one of the females was on. She's like 4'11", 5'2" or whatever. After you get field training, which is another 3 months of training. And then you get probation. Because their manpower was so short, the department cut her loose on her own at like week 6 of field training. And I always thought, how the fuck is that legal? So she doesn't know the law, hasn't been fucking, and then she comes up, she can lawfully kill you or take away your freedom because the public doesn't care and the law doesn't fucking care. If it's somebody with 2 months worth of experience or 20 years worth of experience, they have the same protection of fucking law. I show up on scene, Cliff is fucking spazzing out. I walk up, I'm like, it's me, right? So I'm expected to use de-escalation or defensive tactics to wind up taking Cliff into custody in the safest way possible to give him due process, send him to court. Fucking 5'2" female with 1 month experience on her own shows up, and it's Cliff. She can pull out her gun, shoot him between the eyes, and the whole public's going to go, well, she was terrified for her safety.
Yeah. He was big and intimidating, and, yeah.
How is that legal? We changed the definition of perception based on how we as the people, we're gonna side with the cop on this one because Cliff just should have complied.
Yeah. So that being said, how do you feel about that movement? I don't even know if it's still actually going on, but there was a pretty big movement there for a minute to replace officers responding to calls with psychiatrists and therapists.
That's hilarious.
You're familiar with this, right?
I remember that one. Yeah.
I am 100% de-escalation, anti-de-escalation. I was a great cop because I worked in the retail industry. I was where did I work? Fast food, Little Caesars, pizza, Blockbuster Video. I worked in retail, and then I went to the restaurant industry, TGI Fridays, and then Dakotas. And so my paycheck was based on how I took care of you. And back then, the customer was always right? You walked into a bar and I treated you like shit. I'm not getting tipped. Right. Simple as that. And then I became a cop at 26. So I got all the piss and vinegar and fighting out of my system. I didn't need to go and beat people up. It's like, okay, dude, just put your hands behind your fucking back, man. I get it. I was mature enough to do it. Oh God, what was your fucking question? I had a point. I hate when this happens. This happens like once every 3 months.
Yeah, me too.
You're talking about
Fuck. I think we're all brain farted now.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't even know what the question was.
Replacing responding
yes.
officers with psychiatrists.
So when it comes to de-escalation, is now in this day and age of I could de-escalate, dude. One of my favorite tactics. I say this all the time. One of my favorite tactics to de-escalate drunk Hispanic men: give them a hug. I'm gonna tell you every fucking time. Well, because they're the biggest machismo motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Hey man, what the fuck, man? Go, hey, cuñado means brother-in-law in Spanish. Come on, way. You open up your arms. They open up their arms. Two guys in from the side, grab a hand, put right in cuffs. Fucking happen every time. De-escalation is for people who have world experience. You tell me what some 22-year-old TikTok cop today knows about de-escalation, where they can show up on scene to a 50-year-old's home whose 14-year-old daughter is being a whore and drunk, and you're going to shit. He's losing his shit. He wants to discipline his kid, but the state won't let him. So now some 20-something-year-old cop comes up and tries to de-escalate. No. Sadly, it needs to be force used. If the law says X, Y, and Z, cops have to show up. They have to use the force necessary to effect an arrest or terminate life-threatening behavior. Get away from this fucking de-escalation shit, because you're throwing too much at the cops. Here's the taser. Here's your baton. Here's a bolo. Here's your new fucking, ball tickler. Show up on scene. Give them a couple tugs underneath there. You're fine. It fucking is so stupid. And now it's the social worker shit. Fuck them. It's dumb.
Well, and it's also comes down to a point with these new age officers and the humanizing the badge and doing the dances on the TikTok and all that shit. Far beyond the fact that law enforcement has become a joke because of this movement. I mean, everybody just sees you as dancing clowns now. But when it comes to the younger people, especially the women, let's be real. Women have it in them that they just it's ingrained in their DNA after generations and generations and generations of being taught that they're bulletproof, that you have to listen to them. And when you don't, it escalates things very, 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 very quickly. So when you get a situation with a younger cop, a younger officer, and especially a younger woman on scene, they're operating from a place where you're supposed to listen to me because I told you to listen to me, as where cops like you are coming from a place of, I'm no better than you are, so let's figure out how we can find a middle ground to where we can just open up lines of conversation and see if we can't handle this shit this way.
Yeah, women escalate calls all the time. Females escalate calls.
Every time.
I'm sorry. I went to a call. I got in trouble once where we were at Cedar Lake and Rollins, the gas station, the Citgo, and the guy gets into a fight, Cedar Lake and Rollins, with somebody else apparently, and then goes southbound. By the time I got there, it was two cops had already stopped this van and had the guy on the side of the road. And the female cop, I swear to fuck, I swear this every day, I heard her yelling at him. I just heard her talking to him like he was a piece of shit. Later on, though, it was amazing how my dash cam footage didn't have any audio that proved that. But anyways, so I get out and she jacks him up. And he gets a little bit whatever. So the guy and I have to get him into handcuffs. We have this guy on the ground, hands behind his back, southbound lane of fucking Cedar Lake in front of the White Hen is where his hands are right here. And all we need this bitch to do is take her handcuffs out and put him on. And what does she do? She breaks out her pepper spray. She blasts him right in the fucking face and then puts the cuffs on. Screaming 4-year-old daughter. This cunt stands him up and says, "Look what you made me do in front of your child." I was so fucking pissed. Later on that night, when I gave the guy his prisoner meal, I apologized to him and said, "This is not the way I wanted this to go." Blah 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 blah. I got in trouble for that. I got called into the office about a week later. I had written up a big memo to the command staff at the time. The guy was he's dead now. Leroy, he was the officer in charge. I wrote him up a memo of this cop's behavior. I was completely disgusted with it. And I get called in office with her later on. And the guy was Sergeant Hare at the time goes, "I watched the footage from your dash cam," because we did not have body cameras at the time. He goes, "I didn't hear anything. You said in your memo that you heard her upon your approach. My windows were open. I swear to fuck, I heard her." She starts to get that cracking in her voice. Mm-hmm. And this was a bitch who every call, she would start something to fight, and then she had more resisting arrest charges than anybody in the department. which should tell you she's coming every night going, you guys see what I did to that guy over there. Her previous department, I think she was with Lincolnshire or Lindenhurst. She left that department. One of her male coworkers punched her in the face because he had enough of her shit. But I'll never forget it. She's acting like the fucking victim in the chair next to me going, you don't know what it's like to be a female and have to prove yourself on the street every day. I'm like, nor should you fucking have to. If you feel that way, you are not cut out this profession. And thank God she's not a cop anymore. She hasn't been for many years. I think she was one of the worst human beings I ever fucking met. And no, women escalate. I've worked with three or four very, very good females, but the exceptions do not disprove the rule.
Right. Yeah, that's where people always want to judge the anomaly against the basis. Like in my content, you know, it's not every black guy, it's not every Muslim, it's not every Jew, but it's always every white guy. You know, it's very subjective to where you want to put that, you know, that criteria. What can we do? Okay, so let's talk about what we the people, not the cops, what we the people can do to not only alter our own perception of the cops, because like what we see as normal people is we see, you know, cops fucking hitting the cherries, cruising through the red light and then pulling into the gas station. We see abuse of power all the time. We see the Glenowitz shit and the embezzlement through the Explorer Fund. And we see the LA cops having all the gangs within the forces.
Department.
Yeah, the departments. What can we do as people to really alter our perspective instead of like just looking at the negative parts about cops? How can we wake ourselves up and understand that there is this negative part of cops, but there's also this hugely beneficial part of cops that makes them, even if you want to call it a necessary evil, that is a benefit to us.
You'd have to start waking up and actually know the Constitution, know the law. Stop saying, oh, well, maybe if citizens were just polite around traffic stops, that it would be. No, you don't have to. First fucking amendment. I cannot control somebody being an asshole, is what it is. And you have to start going to your village hall meetings, which I went to one as a citizen. I actually went last year, Christmas time. And I live in a town of about 60,000 people. And I showed up to the village hall meeting. And there were 13 people there. Me was one of the 13. The other 12 were all like employees of the city. And that doesn't include the fucking mayor and the trustees. You have to start asking, hey, what's our department policy on X, Y, and Z? How do cops do this? And people just don't want to get involved. They base everything they see the police do off of emotions. And there's only two schools. All cops are bastards, or let me lick them boots. That's all it is. And we don't have a middle line of going, one of the use of force videos, it was Phoenix police in Arizona. Some guy shoots at Phoenix police when they're in their squad cars. They chase him down into like a restaurant or something. Guy fully surrenders. One cop has his long gun out. The other guy has his pistol out. Guy's on the ground, no gun, pronated, and they're kicking him in the head. And then the other cop starts jagging him right in the fucking head with his pistol as he's putting his hands behind his back. And I'm going, and you get the people, that's fucking right. He's just shot as a cop. You shot at a cop. Doesn't make a difference. You have to fucking stop and not. It is sadly the turning a cop's use of force off is about as hard as being like 3 pumps away from fucking nutting, and she says no, and it still means no, but you have to fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if you take it too far, you're helping the criminal now, because like, guess what? He's going to get off on the charge because you felt that need to go that extra step.
I don't know if that happens because we protect the cops for that. You never see, we always do that. Well, no, it needs to be you fucking let your emotions take over. Now there needs to be consequences for it.
Okay, so let me touch on this one, this officer involved shooting, because this was, in my opinion, my stupid, ignorant, uninformed opinion, one of the most debaucherous fucking shit shows of an officer involved shooting. And it just happened not too long ago in Kenosha, where that guy, I forgot his name, black dude, they were in Kenosha and he was causing a ruckus and there was a whole bunch of cops there, and he fucking told them straight out, he's like, I'm going to my car to get my fucking knife. And he went and got a karambit, which is a double-edged fucking hooked knife. If I had mine sitting here, I'd show you. But anyway, he went and got that out of his car. The cop was yanking on his shirt point blank and shot 6 or 7 times and missed him all but once. And it ended up his kid was in the back seat. It ended up paralyzing him from the legs down or something, from the waist down, and now he's getting paid.
Yeah.
But how the fuck? I mean, if we didn't look at this video, and I mean, if you can watch the video, there's videos from all angles, and it's him coming around the car, and the cops are walking behind him.
That was a day shift call.
Yeah.
And the fat fucking scared cops let him go right back into the car.
Yeah, back into the car.
Yeah.
I would have been like, man, I would have fucking dropped that dude, at least with a taser, if not with lead, because you told me you were going to get a weapon, you were going to kill me with it. That's enough all I need to know, and you're heading in that direction. But then it came to the point where that one there's like 4 or 5 cops around him as he's in his car, halfway in his car. One dude's pulling on his shirt, and then they shoot him point blank and miss all but one time. Almost hit the kid in the back seat. Like, shouldn't this have been a wake-up call for not for the people, but for the law enforcement, that they should have been better trained?
They're not. It's not just the better training; it's the execution of it. Meaning, not the execution of the person, but the execution of the tactics. They don't want to wind up on YouTube. I just saw the best example of what this generation of cops has done in Riverside, California. Female cop who I don't support, but I think she did a fucking incredible job. I'm not a BJJ guy. I was a wrestler and Wing Chun, but you could tell that she's mounted on the guy, and she's right behind him at one position. This guy had just crashed his car into somebody else, killed him, was fleeing the scene. So she jumps on him. Another male cop is useless. He's like trying to hold his legs down. This female gets behind him, and she's in the perfect position to slip her arm in, choke him, and put him to sleep. But the politicians, ever since Eric Garner, have made the rear naked choke like Satan himself. Yeah. And the rear naked choke is the safest movement out of anything anybody could ever do to anybody. You put somebody to sleep in 5 seconds, take them into custody, done. She stops. You just see her. She goes to reach and then stops and lets him go, which means, here's the problem. Wow. We have a cop who is so fucking self-aware to go, I can't do this, and she stopped herself. But also, we have a cop that went, fuck, I can't do this. I'm going to end up in jail or on the news or vilified, blah, blah, blah. That's where we're at.
The system is against points.
We don't have chiefs of police going up to the podium and going, no, we're defending their cops. We have the polarizing side of it. We have the Sheriff Grady Judds who love to talk about the bloodshed that their officers ensue, and the crowd fucking loves it. We have Georgia State Police who love to pit anything that fucking, you didn't use your turn signal. Pit that motherfucker! Yeah. And then watch a pregnant woman wind up on the side of her car. We have some extremes in law enforcement, and they really need to be handled better.
Do you think that there is? Do you think that there's a bright end in sight for population law enforcement relations, or do you think that this is kind of gonna go the way of the races and the religions, and it's gonna eventually just dwindle down to a sort of war zone, and then it'll all have to get figured out then?
Yeah, 10 years from now. So I think I have a feeling, and I said this yesterday in a podcast. My first department, 38 sworn, and I can probably count on both hands just 10 guys that I know that were ever able. And so I left there in 2005. So there's been a lot of cops who have come through there. I know of 10 guys who have been allowed to retire with pensions, who have done the 20 plus years. That's it. I asked a cop yesterday, I'm like, how many cops have you known throughout your life? Hundreds. How many do you know actually did 20 years to have a pension? Not too many. I firmly believe that there has always been a class or a segment of staff and command school that teaches the patrol officers who then go to be sergeants and lieutenants and commanders how to fuck with patrol so much so that they resign, because you don't see a lot of fired cops. Everybody, there have been 20 police officers who left, who were forced out of Round Lake Park under George Falenko. I'm the only one who's ever been fired because I'm the one who chose it. The other ones either all resigned and got their jackets sealed and went to somebody else, somewhere else, or this and that. I'm the only one who said, fuck you, let's do this. That being said, I think that the villages do not want to pay pensions. So get these guys out of here. Let's not let them do 20 years. Not to mention the fact you have this, by the time you get to year 5, you start thinking for yourself. I don't need to arrest this guy. He's a working man. Fucking just go home, man. Park your car, don't drive it tomorrow, X, Y, and Z. They don't want that. But the new guys who come in, they will do it. You've also seen we have a shitty quality of street on Canada on the street right now. My generation of cop when you tested, you get 1,000 people showing up to your to the testing process. Now, I've never seen billboards before in my life. Such and such agency is testing. All these agencies promoting, we're testing. They're asking people to come to their tests. And they're getting the shittiest quality of people on the road who just want to get a uniform to go be TikTok cops, right? Well, when they find out that life is more than TikTok as a cop, and if they ever lost their TikTok account, they're going to retire. They have a never-ending candidate of cops coming on the street who are inept, not able to do the job, and will not do 20 years if they don't have to pay them. You sandwich that now. So that's the one part. Let's get rid of these people. We got the experienced guys leaving. We don't have to pay them all this, but we have a quality of cops that are shitty on the street, so that when you see the George Floyds or the, oh my God, I can't believe they shot a 17-year-old kid who's autistic with a knife, and these guys only had 3 years on. I believe they're purposely setting up a shitty quality of candidate on the street so we can federalize the police, so that you get people over the next 10 years that say these cops are out of control. But we got a bunch of cops who are doing community policing. We have to come up with a problem. Let's federalize the police, and you're going to get Judge Dredd on the street.
Yeah, you're going to get the military. You're going to get military police. Yeah, I fully agree with that assessment. I fully agree with the fact that they're going to militarize the police at some point or another, and they're going to do it once they have an entire national police force that doesn't fight back. It's going to be all the TikTok cops that don't ask questions, just do what I'm told, like we saw during COVID.
100%.
If you were the, what is that fucking sound? If you were a cop during COVID, and your CO said, hey, you need to go fucking arrest that 68-year-old lady on the beach who's alone because she's outside, chances are you would have went up there and you would have been like, hey, I gotta talk to you. Let's get you home because we can't have you out here. But you probably wouldn't have arrested her, and I would almost guarantee you wouldn't have beat the fuck out of her. But this is the shit we've seen.
I'm going to tell you flat out, 50-year-old me, no. But back then when I was working, I don't know. I've thought about that a million times. Would I? We used to have a process, and it was when we did have a quota system. It was called a performance evaluation, and you had to get a certain number of points every night and this and that kind of stuff. And one of the ways to get points was activities. And one of the activities was gang contact. We had a pattern, and in Round Lake Park or the Round Lake area, there's not a lot of sidewalks. It's an older town. So one of the easiest probable causes for a stop is if you're walking to the liquor store to get something to eat or drink or whatever, or the convenience store, 10 o'clock at night, and there's no real street lights, it is nothing for me to stop you saying pedestrian in the roadway. There's even a state citation for that, right? And you're obstructing traffic, even though there's no real fucking car. Right? I could stop you. So there's my probable cause. We used to do gang contacts, not to mention the fact I don't even have to have probable cause. If I go, hey, Cliff, what's going on, man? You got a second? Most people do not know that they can go, say nothing, keep walking. If you engage in a consensual encounter with me, that's fine. You do that. Both times, I didn't know this was not right. I didn't know this was borderline illegal. What we used to do is if we stopped you and we'd always, do you have your ID on you by chance? That was always my thing. Do you have your ID on you by chance? So this way I'm asking, and you give it to me, I run you, and it comes back, oh, he's a known gang member, this and that. All right, hey, we used to have you stand in a lighted position, take your photo, and then write a gang contact report. One day I get an arrest off something. The guy's got some fucking coke on him or something. And I call the state's attorney. This is what I got, because all felonies, you have to have proof of the state's attorney. And I break down, well, yeah, it was a gang contact stop, and blah, blah. And the state's attorney goes, it was a what? It was a gang contact stop. He goes, oh, walk me through it. I walked him through it. He was walking down the road, no sidewalk, obstructing the roadway. Okay. And we go through this. I took his photo, but what did you take his photo for? And I explained, this is the procedure at our department. Our chief wants us to sit there, make gang contacts. We photograph these people. We do a gang contact card. We write a report on it. He goes, why are you doing that? Oh, he was fucking floored. We ended the conversation abruptly. He didn't want to know anymore. I have a feeling that's a fucking violation of somebody's fucking rights.
Oh, making gang contact cards and shit?
It's like he's like, what do you take? You are making them take a photo? I go, yeah. He was like, you can't do that. So yeah, it's like it blows me away the shit that people don't know that they can't do or cops do. The whole system is just shitty as all hell.
It's the system is flawed and it's stacked against people, citizens. I'm gonna say you shouldn't be able to stop me and do all this shit because I'm walking down the street when I literally have nowhere else to walk. I can't walk through yards.
The laws are all designed. If you look at like the Illinois Vehicle Code, I say this all the time. You cannot back out of your driveway without breaking the law.
No.
Really?
No, and every city or every state has a vehicle code. IVC, Illinois Vehicle Code. You have two things you could stop or cite somebody on: equipment violation or moving violation. And it's all designed. Here's the justification: we have a vehicle code to prevent motor vehicle accidents. Well, that kind of makes sense. Speeding can cause an accident. Failure to use a signal, changing lanes, that can cause an accident. DUI can cause an accident, right? Anything that's a reckless driving can cause an accident. Equipment violations, your cracked front windshield, that can cause an accident. Your rear license plate light not being illuminated, how can that cause a fucking accident? Mm-hmm. Your loud muffler, how can that cause an accident? It's all fucking revenue generation.
Yeah, well, and that's what the cops really are. The cops aren't there to serve and protect anymore. They're there to generate revenue. Well,
it goes back to what you said when you hear it all the time. I want to be a cop because I want to help people. Really? 90% of what you do is going to be pulling people over and issuing them tickets. Yeah. So you explain to me how that's helping them, and then responding to calls where you're going to arrest somebody. How's it helping them?
Mm-hmm. Well, to go back to COVID, to say I'm here to help people, but you literally are going against them. You're going against their constitutional rights or just basic human things. Why are you even going to approach me during COVID when I'm outside alone?
Cops got exposed. I was under the 100%. I said that cops were domestic terrorists during that point. And I went at it, cops. I posed 2 questions during that time, which showed me the mindset of cops, which was really disgusting and embarrassing. And the first one is, how many of you are enforcing this? And I actually have guys in my comment section who, after I commented back, they blocked me, the snap. And they would say, well, you don't know what it's like to have a family to worry about, to have to feed and pay your mortgage. And I would say, did you just publicly admit on my public Facebook page that you're willing to violate somebody's constitutional rights to keep a paycheck? Well, fuck you, and then delete. And the biggest one, I always ask people this, and I got another cop to talk about this on a podcast, and I called him out on it. Do you base your issuance of a traffic citation off of somebody's words and attitude? Well, absolutely. If they got an attitude with me, I'm going to issue a ticket. It's correct their behavior. You just admitted that you will violate somebody's First Amendment right. Well, no, it's our job to correct their behavior. No, it's not. It's the court's job to correct their behavior. Well, I have discretion. So you're little fucking pussy that can't take somebody telling you to go fuck your mother on a traffic stop, and you're basing your citation off of that and not what you pulled them over for? You really want to fuck a cop up or a cop supporter? Ask him, should a police officer base an arrest or a traffic issuance citation off of the attitude of a driver? And watch how many of them go, of course they should. Yeah. Oh, so you don't believe in free speech? Well, the driver should be nice to the cop. Says where?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, maybe you should, but
no. Why? So it's all subjective, right? I again, another police chief, the police chief of Prospect Heights, Illinois, Bill Caponegro, unfriended me because I fucking did a video on him where I talked about this same thing, saying say nothing on traffic stops. Say nothing. You get pulled over. Here's a license. Here's the insurance. I appreciate it, officer. Hands it 10 and 2. That's it. But I said, how many cops out there are going to be like, oh, you got an attitude because you're not talking to me? Yeah. This fucking police chief, Bill Caponegro of Prospect Heights, Illinois, writes in the comment section that the silent treatment, according to him, will only increase your chances of getting a citation.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. To go back to your driver's license issue, I mean, I have no reason to give you my driver's license for walking down the street, but I know I've seen videos cops are going to be like, you not giving me your license or ID, you're going to get arrested and go to jail.
How does that not? And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you're a police chief. And I commented, and of course he defriends me and all this shit. How are you a police chief and you just admitted that somebody having the right to remain silent on a traffic stop, not talk to you, don't even have to acknowledge you, will increase their chances of you issuing a ticket because of your fragile fucking ego? We have domestic terrorists on the street. We do.
Yes, we do. I've never heard of the cops said that, put that way, but that is largely what it seems to be. Domestic terrorist on the street level, like back to, the 1840s with the Bowery Boys and all that shit. It seems like it's kind of another.
What's the answer? What's the answer? Am I supposed to pull you over and you're supposed to go, oh my God, officer, I'm so sorry. I made you get out of your car. Do you need me to tickle your balls? I will do anything you want because I worship you. Is that the shit that people are supposed to do to make sure they don't get a ticket?
That's the shit that people did in the 50s that made the cops feel like they were gods to begin with. Oh man, guys. So let's try to ring this back around. We've talked a lot of shit about cops. Let's take just a couple of minutes and talk about some positive shit that you would do should you obtain a position in your future. Some positive shit that you would do as Dominick Izzo that you could put forth that you would do to fix some of these issues.
I already said, the current mayor, we have a new mayor for Round Lake Park, and I said, you go in. I said, you appoint me as chief, I will fucking turn that agency around. And of course, you stick with the same police chief, this and that. If I was appointed as police chief, it would be eradicating the term community policing because that's a redundant term. End of story. It would be those officers would be 100% focused on righteous community service with the lawful heavy-handedness, violence that is needed when it comes time on a lawful level. Those cops would be, I would crack that fucking whip. The standards would be through the roof, but it would all be based off of a reward for improvement. Not the whole incentives where, oh, you did such a good job today, we're gonna give you the brand new car and create animosity. But there has to be an element of praising cops for their good, righteous behavior. Discipline is a must because discipline improves the performance of people when it comes down to their jobs. So I'm all about disciplining for improvement and not discipline for punishment, which is what it's become. And I wish that was the case. I really do. I think the only good thing that Falenko really ever did is he did have media contacts. And whenever somebody did something great, he would have us featured in the newspaper. That made me want to work harder for him. It's like all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm in the newspaper for disarming somebody with a knife instead of shooting and killing him. It's just another day ending in Y. But no other agency would have fucking did anything. He was very good. Yeah, and this is how he built loyalty, though. He was very good at highlighting good officers, so we would remain loyal to him. That's smart. That's how you should do it. That's the only instance he ever worked for the guys. But if I went in, I would work 100% for the officers because officers work for the people.
And what would you, okay, so let me ask you, what kind of things would you do? So when we talk about, how can we make cops happier? Because everybody's wants to talk about how happy they are with their employment and you do a better job, blah, 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 blah. It always comes back to cops don't make enough money. Is that actually true, or is that just something that we feel as Americans like nobody makes enough money to do what they do? Nobody
does. I mean, I was maybe $57,000 a year, which is shit when you think about it.
In Round Lake, in fucking Beirut, where you're going to die one night.
But here's the deal: what do you think that the average household income was for Round Lake Park?
Oh, it's like, I think it was like 32,000 or something.
No, it's nothing compared to what I make, right? So if I was able to pay my bills, still go to work 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and I could do whatever the fuck I want, why am I complaining about pay? Why? Well, for me, it's different. You're not looking to do the job to make money. If you want to make money, well, on your off days, go be a realtor. On your off days, go do sales, something else. Get it approved through the chief and go do it. I think that those are some of the things you would change because a lot of times chiefs are like, no, you can't go do this. No, you can't go do that. As long as a cop does not misrepresent their agency, I'm fine with them doing this. You have to take the pay thing. I don't think that's it. I think it's the detraction from punishment. Cops are punished by command staff far too much simply because these men and women who have gold badges take shit from their fucking husbands and wives and kids at home, and they come to work and they shit all over their patrol. That's the only reason. The only fucking reason. And that needs to stop, and you'll have a better quality of cop in the street.
I absolutely appreciate the truth that I always get out of you, dude. Nobody tells it like you do. Like you just don't. Like you hear fucking most of the people we hear. It's we hear people like when they either don't know anything about it. Like we'll talk about like Andy Frisella says a lot in his podcast. The reason we have shitty cops is because we don't pay them enough. The reason we have shitty teachers because we don't pay them enough. And for me, that lends itself to this ideology that you should be getting paid massive amounts of money before you do the job.
Wait, why though? That makes no sense. So wait a second. I have a question. Is it my discretion to do work during the day?
Yeah.
My last 9 months on as a cop, I wrote one traffic ticket. Am I obligated? Because you can't hold me. You lawfully cannot hold me accountable. Well, we're going to pay you this much money. You got to do this much work. You can't do that. So if you paid me $107,000 a year, and I still only wrote one traffic ticket that year, you can't do a fucking thing about it. No, it is wrong. Cops, it's not that cops are fucking paid more money. You can pay more money for cops to do less work. Oh, shit. Why am I going to risk my fucking neck, get out of the car, slip on ice on a traffic stop because you're paying me more fucking money? That's the biggest fallacy there is. There is no pay more. It may be for professional athletes. You may pay $9 million a season. Yeah. You're going to fucking perform because you have a contract. Well, you pay me $9 million as a cop, I'm going to fucking shield myself. I'm not going to do shit. Not to mention the fact that I've got a badge. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can go. I'm shielded from all this stuff. It is personal integrity. Here's the irony of Andy's place. Andy doesn't pay his sales staff $9 million a year. When you go to First Form, it is the single most professional run organization I have ever seen in my fucking life. It is more squared away than the military. When I got a tour of their gym, you have the weight trees where they have then you have like a First Form. So first is at the 12 o'clock position, form is at the 6 o'clock position. When you put the weight, like the 10-pound plate, 45-pound plate, back on the weight tree, if it is not perfectly aligned at noon and 6, that's grounds for termination. They're desks. They don't have janitors. We're doing the podcast and I'm watching. He's got his sales staff vacuuming the floor. They're required to read 10 pages of a book a day, to be in shape, to have community development. They're non-union because they can, if those are standards, and if they don't meet those standards, they will be fired. Andy created a culture of people who want to be a part of it. If you pay, there are probably people who would work for that fucking company for free just to be a part of that culture. You're going to tell me we can't do the same fucking thing in law enforcement?
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
There's incentive. There's a standard that you want. You're like, hey, I'm proud to work there because.
Well, and you're going to get the people that would say like, well, how dare Andy set up his company so that these people have to do all this extra shit? It's not a salesperson's job to vacuum the floors. It's not a salesperson's job to fucking wipe the piss off the toilet seats. It's not a blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing, though. What Andy has created is an atmosphere and a culture that makes people want to do all of that shit. Mm-hmm. They want to be a member of the sales team, and they want to vacuum and clean their desk area. They want to be a part of this elite structure of elite human beings. And the only way you get people to want to do the extra is to establish the elite part first.
It takes one person. I give him credit all the time. John Hurd just got promoted to sergeant for Lake County. Guy's been a cop going on 30 years now. And it was because of him. He washed his squad car every single day. I started doing that. Eventually, I got to share the same squad car as him. He got fucking pissed at me one day for leaving paper in it, right? I'm 50. He's got to be 52. Same age. And I was embarrassed that I let him down by keeping some shit in the squad car because he had a standard. He used to fucking tailor his uniform. I asked him, can you tailor my shirts? He used to shine my fucking boots. I got shirt stays, wore the top. So one cop changed how I presented my appearance as a police officer, always squared away, armor all on the fucking tires every single day. was other guys like my buddy Ken, who knew everything about policy and the Constitution. I got to be like Ken. It was like Tim Mitzvin going out there and fucking being tactical. So all it was a couple guys who these are the people that I want to emulate. But the culture of law enforcement is, oh, look at you trying to be all like Tim. Look at you trying to be like John. Look at the cancerous crab in the bucket shit is what happens with cops. But if you could take a first form type of culture and create that with cops, oh my God, things would change.
If you could create a first form culture in law enforcement, I honestly believe the community would change itself. It wouldn't even need the cops. Because we would be like, I like some of the videos you do. I just saw one the other day. You were actually, and I know you get a lot of shit for being down on female cops, but you had done this video on a female cop the other day, and you were really fucking putting her up. Like you were complimenting her on her posture, the way she carries herself, the fact that her uniform is just absolutely fucking prim and proper and nailed down in every way. If we saw every time we walked out the door and we saw cops like her, okay, squared away, back straight, good posture, well-spoken. If we saw cops like that first form type of cop, fit, not, ready to handle business, I think the community would just inherently, we would go on that butterfly effect. That would ripple into the community. And okay, so these cops are policing our community. They are the best. You can look at them and see that they have the best standards. Mm-hmm. The community, I think, will follow that. You know what I mean?
100%. It's pride. And pride and integrity, they go hand in hand. And you want to be part of something that actually feels good and makes a difference. It's as simple as that.
So. I would even go a step further. Like, part of, I do appreciate law enforcement. Like, I have great respect for them because, that's a difficult job. And to some regard, the deck is stacked against you. DAs aren't going to do shit. The judicial system is not going to do shit. But, so it's like, okay, and communities aren't going to do shit. So they're like, why bother? I go back to all that. Like, I think that if departments were to embrace what you just said and hold that standard, the communities would be like, hey, no, DA, you need to do something about this. Like, the policies outside of enforcement would start fixing themselves.
No, you'd have to elect a proper state's attorney or district attorney to have that idea.
Mm-hmm. And I think the communities then would be like, you haven't done shit. These guys are doing their job and they're doing their job right. The standard is right. They're not getting away with things. You need to go. And this guy's coming in that's going to do what we need him to do.
Oh.
Well, I'm saying Dominick Izzo for fucking sheriff of the nation. Not even local, nation. Let's get you all the way the fuck at the top. Let's bring this around. Dominick, thank you so much for fucking being here and talking with us and letting us in on that whole side of your world with that. Because like I said, you are the most passionate person I've ever fucking seen about proper law enforcement, not cops, not bad cops, good, proper law enforcement. And I think if every single person that ever spoke on law enforcement or had an opinion on law enforcement or participated in law enforcement had even half of the perspective that you do regarding the position, the tasks, the responsibility, and the people that you serve, I think the entire law enforcement field would be first form. It would be elite. It would be absolutely fucking elite. Thank you so much for being here, guys.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give us one more time. Tell everybody where they can find you, Dominick.
They can check us out on any of the social media platforms for video content: YouTube, Rumble, X, Spotify for Cop Talk Live. You can follow me at Dominick with a K, Dominick, Izzo, Izzo on Instagram.
And you can follow us on Instagram as well at Savagely Loud Podcast page. You can find links to my personal page, Savagely Loud, and Mikey's personal page, Woldy2, on that page. We are on Facebook. We're not too active on Facebook, but we're there. We're on YouTube at Savagely Loud Podcast, and you can email us in at savagelyloudpodcast@gmail.com with any of your questions, comments, concerns, any of that. Let's wrap this shit up. Thanks again for being here. Thank you, Mikey. Do you have anything you want to last word here?
Not really last word, but thank you again, Dominick. This was a privilege to be able to talk with you today.
Mine too, big time.
All right, and let's get it going.